Hi, Mario.
How are you, Abe?
Very good. Baruch Hashem. How are you?
Good, good. How was your Yom Tov?
Very nice. It was very nice. I had my grandson from Tina came up with his wife, and it was very nice.
Oh, very good.
Everyone,
Hello, Sai.
Oh, good evening.
Good evening.
hi.
How are you doing?
Good. Thank you. Thank God. And you?
Okay, thank God. We're on page 95.
Right. Wow. Types of water you can use.
Say it again.
Look at the introduction to the water for Natilat Yadayim.
Yeah. Well, if the water is not clear enough,
Depends on the city's filtration system, doesn't it?
yeah, well, not only that, if your pipes are old, the first minute or so, the water will be
Rusted, yeah.
like rusted or looking like milk.
Wow.
Hola.
Hi, Harold.
Hello. Hello.
Hey there.
Hello.
So how is it hot, Harold?
No, today was beautiful, but 85. It's just right.
Oh, next week it's gonna be in the hundreds.
Oh, I'll be in New Jersey. I don't care.
Oh. That'll be in the 50s.
Actually, I think New York has better weather than Los Angeles.
Really?
Yeah, let's see here. Yeah,
Harold, when are you
today
going?
I'm going Monday. Yeah,
I'm
so
going on
next
Tuesday.
next Monday will be 82 in Clifton, New Jersey, and in Los Angeles it will be 70
Hmm.
and overcast. Yeah. Yeah,
Our
we have that
normal June gloom.
June gloom, exactly.
Oh, Jorge. So where is Ernie?
Coming back from shul.
Yeah, it's coming back from shul.
Oh, no, it's Walter, Alan. We got a full house here.
Yeah. Now Jacob Yedin was in, but now it's not.
There he is.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Jacob.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Hello, everyone. Again, I signed in at 8, not saying that it was
Oh.
8. I signed back out, here I am. I have to look at the time from now on.
Is today St. Patrick's?
I didn't think about that. I would have worn red.
That's the color of the Boston Celtics.
Yeah,
True.
that's
So
true.
I am definitely not a Celtics fan.
Yeah, he's
but
growing.
I'm wearing it- Actually, I'm wearing it to celebrate the Celtics.
Yeah. Their demise, huh?
That's
Either
right.
hate them or I love them. That's what it's.
Right.
There's something about the Boston Celtics. They're
Yeah,
hated
the
or
Lak-
loved.
Well, because of the Lakers, like the
Yeah.
Lakers
Yeah.
couldn't get past them years and years. and
Yeah.
years.
Years. Yeah.
It was the Yankees, you know, they were the traditional
We're
rivals.
tied at 17. We didn't want Boston to get 18.
No. You know, 150 times apparently, it came down 3-0 and the NBA has not come back. But this was only the fourth time that a team down 3-0 created a seventh game. And in all four cases, they lost the seventh game.
Well, in the NHL, 4 teams did it, and the last one were the LA Kings in 2012.
Right.
I mean, no professional sport had it been done at all before the Yankees blew it for the Red Sox in
The Red Sox.
2003. Yeah.
Yeah,
They were
2000, right.
And they came back to win. Yes. It had never been done in any major league professional sport. A 3-0 until the Yankees did it. And I think then it's been done a few more times. The NHL. Oh, well. But I'll know better. I won't wear a green shirt next time. So I can't be accused of St. Patrick's Day favorite. So I'll make a note. No green shirts on Tuesday. Why do we have 2 lights staring at us from Alan?
You're being interrogated.
Yeah.
Promise I didn't do it. And if I did it, I didn't mean it.
Oh, boy.
Let's see if I can set it up here some way. We can.
Ah,
There we go.
I get a mazel tov. My daughter Eliza just had a baby girl
Oh,
oh.
Mazel tov.
Very
Wonderful.
nice.
within the hour.
Very
Wow.
good.
Terrific.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov, mazel
Mazel
tov,
tov. Mazel
Counts-
tov.
Counts to the
There
moil.
they are.
mazel tov.
Counts
my
to the moil.
machane.
It's a goyle.
Mazel tov, Sai. Mazel tov, Sarah.
Mazel tov,
Mazel
Sai.
Mazel
It's a-
tov.
Yeah, it's a
Why
girl.
you sitting very
it's a-
quietly, not telling us the good news over here.
It just happened. I just came back from shul.
Hot off the press.
I just learned on the way to shul.
It's a girl year for you, huh? Yaakov had one, and now your other daughter has one. Can I know her? Okay. Better start saving your money for shidduchim, you know.
Mazel tov, mazel tov.
Page 95, Ernie.
Oh, thank you, Mother. Thank you. Correct. Correct. We're starting, this is the second Halacha of Netilas Yadayim, part 2. In the previous year, we began studying the Hilchos of Netilas Yadayim, focusing on the origins of the institution. We talked about the rules governing the vessel used. In this year, we will focus mainly on the halachos related to the water used, including the status of water whose appearance has changed, seawater, and hot water, as well as how the netila should be done, and what to do if no water is available. So there's a Mishnah Masechta Yadayim. By the way, Masechta Yadayim is in Seder Taharos. Remember, the Rabbanon made a gzeira on our Yadayim of a tumah. It's a sheni l'tumah, and that's why the whole takana of the Netilas Yadayim was created. So there is a Masechta Yadayim that deals with these issues. Rules that if the water does not have its usual clear appearance, it is disqualified for Netilas Yadayim. Nafal Socho Dio, Kumus Vikankantum. Let's say a dye of either blue dye, black dye, Vinishtanu Marayan, and the water isn't clear or its appearance has changed, Psulin. And the Ra'ah, who's a Rishon, explains the time of why do we need water that whose appearance hasn't changed? One of the kelim in the Beis Hamikdash was the kior, which was this large kli that was lowered by a muchni, by a machine, down into a natural spring that was below the Beis Hamikdash. Then it was lifted, and then this kli had many faucets, 10 or 12 faucets, and the Kohanim would wash their hands from this kli, and they would. So that water, which was used for Kiddush and Raglayim, there's an extra word mayim, tichsiv, you shall place their water, and Aaron and his sons should wash. I mean, what's the extra mayim? The water has to be in its natural state. Shalon ishtanu marayan. Shalon ishtanu, that you can see a biography of the Ra'ah, who was a contemporary of the Rashba, and some say the Sefer HaChinuch, which we don't know who wrote the Sefer HaChinuch. Some say it was the Ra'ah. So, according to the Ra'ah, the repetition of the word water in the pasuk teaches that the water used for the kior, the laver, must be in its original form, with no change in its appearance. And the same applies to the water used for Netilas Yadayim. Incidentally, says the footnote, it is evident from the Ra'ah that Chazal equated some of the rules of ritual purity in the Beis Hamikdash with those of Netilas Yadayim for non-sacred food, a principle that we saw a number of times in the previous year as well. The Rambam in the Mishnah Torah, in the Yarach HaVaka, writes that any change in the appearance of the water renders it invalid for Netilas Yadayim. He adds that if the water is forbidden to drink, it's also disqualified. So, Ma'im Shnishhtanu Marayan, water, the color has changed.
Bernie?
Yes.
Question.
Yes, George.
You know, today with all of the processing that we do on purification of water and taking and recycling water, how does that affect that? I mean, from if I'm reading correctly, what the original intent of it was that it had to be water that is extremely pure, that has never been processed in any way, shape, or form, and that we haven't in some way manipulated as human beings.
Well, right now, what the Ra'ah brought and what the Mishnah said is that its appearance has to be clear. That's what we've learned so far. What you are trying to extend it beyond. And remember, what I said about the kior, they did bring it from a mayon, a well that was below the Beis Hamikdash, but that has to do with hegdish. Netilas Yadayim, we don't wash our hands for the purposes of the level of tumah v'tahara, that's the level of hegdish.
Okay.
So at this point, let's keep your ha'ara on the side for a minute, because we're going to build. Right now, there can't be a change in the appearance. Despite the various purifications our water goes through, it has the appearance of water. It's clear. So
I'm asking something different. I'm asking you, what about the ones that we are using and recycling?
Okay, let's see if recycling is going to
be. Okay, I'm listening. I'll shut up.
Let's see if recycling is going to be a problem. So the Rambam writes that the change in the appearance disqualifies it. Then he adds something else. If there's halachic reasons why we can't drink the water, then you also can't use that water. Let's see what the Rambam says. Whether the change in color is in a kli, whether it's on the ground, maybe a dye or something that changed its color filling. So we know that if you leave water uncovered overnight, so there's a gzeira that you're not allowed to drink such water. At the time of Chazal, they were concerned that a snake might have deposited venom into that water. So that's the psul of gilui, of uncovered water. So if you have uncovered water overnight, you may not drink such a water. The Rambam now is throwing in that even though the color is clear, since it's halachically usher to drink such water, you won't be able to use it for Netilas Yadayim either. According to the Gemara in Chulin 10a, we're on page 96. Susie, they all said Mazel Tov to you. When water is left exposed, it becomes forbidden to drink it because there's a concern that a venomous snake drank from it and injected some of its venom inside. Avodah Zarah 30b indicates that such water should not be used for washing and bathing due to concern that the venom may infiltrate one's skin and enter the body. Although the Shulchan Aruch mentions the prohibition to drink exposed water, the Shulchan Aruch itself and later Achronim question its practical applications in places where snakes are not commonly found. The Kesef Mishnah's commentary to the Rambam, citing the Tur, also raises the same issue within the context of Netilas Yadayim, that because we live in areas that don't have snakes, in general, we won't mention Mountain Gate, where my golf partner had an experience with a snake.
It's the anniversary, I can say, that Sha'asani Sim b'makom hazeh.
So they question whether this issue would still be extant, but I know my minig was I was trained, my grandmother, they did not drink water that was left overnight, that was not covered. It's a custom that is still very prevalent, I think, by many Jews. Yaakov Yellen, what was the practice in Tiferes Yisrael? I'm sure Gilui was something that they were concerned about, correct?
No, I really don't remember this issue ever coming up, but I agree with you. As far as I can remember, you didn't use water that was exposed all night.
Right.
I don't have a specific recollection of issue coming in.
Okay, but it's Susie, you saw that in growing up, correct? Right. So Susie saw that in her home too. So the Shulchan Aruch adds that the water is forbidden even if the change in appearance did not stem from external factors but occurred on its own. Let's say water sat there for a while, even if it was covered, and it got cloudy. Right? Without some kind of external thing being added to it. It cannot be used. The Mishnah Berurah comments that the Rambam, who does not mention any disqualification of water whose appearance changed on its own, does not agree with the Shulchan Aruch with respect to this issue and allows such water to be used for Netilas Yadayim. The Mishnah Berurah writes that the Achronim were lenient in accordance with the Rambam. Let's say you have standing water that's in a kli for a long time. Ad shenasa yaruk, it becomes green. Through the warm water. the Mechaber said that if water on its own had changed colors, it would be usher based on the tour. The Rambam only mentioned an invalidation by something like an additive to the water, changing its color. So the Mishnah Berurah paskins that waters whose color changed on its own would be permitted to be used for Natilas Yadayim. On the other hand, the Ben Ish Chai rules, like the Shulchan Aruch, that even water that changes colors on its own is disqualified for Natilas Yadayim. Natilas Yadayim, Dam also Chazal Ataras Mechatis. In many ways, Chazal compared the process of washing your hands to the process of the Paraduma, the Kiddush Yadayim Raglayim and Akior, and washing your hands and feet from the Kior in the base of Mikdash. The Shinui Mara Poisel Behem, that in both of those examples, change in its appearance would invalidate them. And therefore, you have to be medagdek on until Yadayim that the water has to be clear. And even if the water didn't have anything put into it, standing water that was in the air for quite a long time. The Nasa Mare and Yoruk that are green, Ram came to it for Natilas Yadayim. Afagav the Yishrabim Chokim. There are many who argue the sphere led Nishtanu Machlosatzim Ksherim, Meyachad the Morin Zashikibano Rosov Posek the Besul Nachi Kamelon. Even though the Ben Ish Chai was a Sephardi posek, of course they follow the Maran Shulchan Aruch like Ovadia Yosef. He says if you have no other water, you can use such water, but don't use the full bracha with the name of Hashem. When you get to Hashem Elokeinu, you should just think about that in your heart. And the Piskei Teshuvos writes that practically one should be stringent in accordance with the Ben Ish Chai and not be lenient like the Mishnah Berurah. The reason is that changes in water color often do external factors, and sometimes you can't even you don't know why it happened. Says the Piskei Teshuvos, V'nei l'maisa matzinu l'kamem ma'poiskim shekasvu la'achman v'zer kestimas ha'shulchan aruch. He is mentioning those halachic decisors that are stringent, like the Shulchan Aruch, like the Ben Ish Chai. The Gabba Maim Shishtanu Marei Machmas Atzman Ein L'Tol Yadayim, that you shouldn't use water whose color is changed. V'od ki l'oil ha'mayim shemishtanu Mareim li'yirakois yesh b'zeh siba chitzonius. If a water is turning green, there's usually an external factor. The heat of the sun, atimos avir, the air, the atmosphere is stale. We don't have the ability to distinguish or to discern between why the water changed its color. So therefore, we should be stringent. If the water smells, you certainly should not use it. The Mishnah Berurah writes that although water whose appearance has changed due to external factors is unfit for Natilas Yadayim, if it changes because dirt or mud was mixed in, so the water may be used. Right? Like Machmas Davar Shenafal, the Mishnah reminds us, Kigon Dio, ink, Ushar Minei Samamonim Vitzavonim, other dyes and things that color the water. Even if it didn't dissolve completely in it, like you soak a tea bag. I'm not saying a tea bag, but I'm saying let's say you took this dye, it didn't dissolve completely in the water, but it just soaked there. Nishtana Mara. Let's say smoke goes in there and it changes. Mash nishtana offer. He says dirt, vitit, mud. He says that's not considered a change in color. That's water is generally mixed with, dirt. We're used to purified water and water that comes from plants. I'm talking about like plants that process water. But in Europe, when you pumped water from a well, so it sometimes came up with some dirt with it. That means if you take water like that and you let it sit, the dirt will fall to the bottom and the water on top will be clear. You can use that. The Yalkut Yosef agrees that water that looks cloudy or is mixed with dirt may be used. If it's a little cloudy. The Yeshben came in Adan Varafel, and but the cloud disappears, it settles. And it's not cloudy anymore after a period of time, and it becomes clear. So you can use them. Even while it's cloudy, you don't have to wait until it clears. Faucet water that is brown. But that brown stuff settles. I'm just going to read the footnote. In defense of the Mishnah Berurah, who holds that even when the water changes colors due to the sun or the air, it is considered to have changed on its own. One can argue that unless an actual foreign object has fallen into the water, it's considered changed on its own. And that's actually explained by the Prisha, who's a commentary on the Tur. Now, can one use clear soda water for Natilas Yadayim if water is unavailable? According to the Or L'Tzion, one may perform Natilas Yadayim with seltzer water or even lemon lime soda, such as Sprite or 7-Up, as the carbonation is not considered a change.
It's not just carbonation in those cases, it's the addition of sugar or artificial sweetener or whatever. I guess that doesn't matter either.
Right. So first of all, the issue that you don't have to wait for the dirt to clear, but you could use it right away. The same conclusion was reached by other poskim, including Rav Ephraim Greenblatt and the River of Ephraim. Rav Greenblatt lived in Memphis. He was a Talmid Muvik, or one of the Talmidei Muvokim, Rav Moshe Feinstein. Eventually moved to Beit Vagen. I had the chance to meet Rav Greenblatt and Rav Nosson Gestetner in Laharis Nosson. So we have to rely on a minority, but one must wait until the water clears to use it for Natilas Yadayim. That's Rav Dayan Weiss, the Minchas Yitzchak.
By the way, I think Rav Greenblatt has the most questions of anyone in Igros Moshe. Anyone?
I mean, who Igros Moshe responded to Rav Ephraim.
Correct.
Okay. The River of Ephraim itself is 12 to 15 volumes. His own collection of tshuvas is a very large collection. What about hot water? Are there halachic guidelines regarding the temperature of the water which may be used for Natilas Yadayim? Of concern is extremely cold or hot water, particularly water which reaches the temperature of Yad Soletispo, water that is so hot that a hand recoils from its heat. This issue is discussed in the Gemara Maseches Chulin. Mayim Rishonim, which is Natilas Yadayim water, Noitlin bein becham and bein nitzoinen. So you can use it whether it's hot or cold. Now, my machroinim that we use at the table, out because our hands have gotten dirty. It's got melach sdoimis. We have salt on our hands that could be dangerous to our eyes. So my machronim was established. Ein noitlin el b'soinim. For that we have to use cold. The point of my machronim is to remove dirt and sweat and all of that. And hot water, it says in the Gemara, softens the hands, and it doesn't effectively remove the dirt from them. The halachas and reasons for my machronim will be discussed in detail in volume 14 of the Tzurba M'Rabanan series, which is our next volume. In case of need, I'm just reading footnote number 6. We talked about using seltzer or lemon lime soda. The Be'er Moshe, Rav Moshe Stern, rules that one may even use a colored fruit drink for Netilas Yadayim, since the consistency is mostly water. Although the color of the water has changed, this does not invalidate the water for Netilas Yadayim if the change improves the liquid, as is evident from the Shulchan Aruch, the Ramah, and Aruch HaShulchan. Means if some change is an improvement, then he says there's a heter to use it for Netilas Yadayim. Back to the Gemara. Ma'im Rishonin, Noitlin Bein B'chaim Bein Mitzoyim. So the Gemara said that for Netilas Yadayim water, you can use hot or cold. Amr Rav Yitzchak bar Yosef Amr Rav Yanai, Lo Yishanu Ela She'ena Yad Soledes Bo. That means when you said chamin, hot water, it does not reach the level of Yad Soledes Bo. A temperature where your hand will withdraw. When we were learning Yoredeya, I believe we discussed 114 degrees as a temperature that would qualify as Yad Soledes Behem. Aval Yad Soledes Behem ain't open Behem. But if it's that hot, you would not use it for Netilas Yadayim. The Ikidi Masla safe. That achroinim ain't noitlin ela b'tzoinin, aval b'chamin lo. That for my machronim we don't use hot water. You know when you can't use hot water for my machronim when it's really hot. Aval eina yad soledes bo. If it's just lukewarm, noitlin. You can use it for mayim achronim. Nichlal the rishonim aval pisha yad soledes bo muter. So based on the seifa of this Gemara, the Ikidamasti law, they hold that for Maim Rishonim, you could use even Yad Soledes Bo water. So according to the first version of Rav Yanai, if the water is so hot that a hand recoils from it, it is unfit for Netilas Yadayim. The reason for this would be that such water is not functional halachically as water, since it's not drinkable at this temperature. See Rashi there by Chulin. And see also the next subsection, we will see in the context of seawater, that water that is not drinkable may not be used for Netilas Yadayim. So the ruling, however, according to the second version, that even extremely hot water is acceptable. And the discussion in the Baraisa regards only my machronim, the final one. The reason for the distinction would then be that the heat of the hot water opens the pores of the hand and causes the unwanted grime to be absorbed in it, but the water does not remove the grime as the Mayim Achronim is supposed to do. So the Rishonim disagree as to which version of the Gemara is accepted as the halacha. The Beit Yosef rules leniently, like the second version, that you can perform the Netilas Yadayim with hot water, even water that is Yad Soledes. Says the Beis Yosef in his commentary on the tour, the Kosvo Arosh, the Rashba, the Mordechai, the Halacha Kalishna Basra. that he found the Rosh, who was an earlier Rishon, and the Rashba, and the Mordechai, that they felt the halacha was like the second version in the Gemara. The Rambam. This is how we paskin. Udelo kismag, sefer mitzvah gedolos. Usmak, sefer mitzvahs ketanos. These were earlier, like in the times of the Gaonim. They were the first codifiers. They were written in the years like 900. The Kosvu Kalishta Kamo. They paskin like the earlier version in the Gemara. So you see the process of psak here, how it worked until the Beis Yosef finally brought it down. And of course, the author of the Beis Yosef is Rav Yosef Karo, wrote the Shulchan Aruch. So he follows his ruling that he mentions in the Beis Yosef. Chamei or hot water that's heated by fire. But even if they're hot enough that the water that your hand will withdraw from them. However, the Mishnah Berurah cites a few achronim who oppose using very hot water for the Yadayim. Nevertheless, the Mishnah Berurah rules that one who doesn't have any other hot water and cannot wait may rely on the Shulchan Aruch. Now, v'yesh machmirim biyad soleres behem. Because of achronim, the boin lo maimach acherim ein lachmir b'zeh. That if there are machmirin who will not use water that is that hot, but if you don't have any other water, you can use it. The ha'ikar kedas ha'shulchan aruch. Uba poishrin with lukewarm, eina isra klal l'klalma. Everyone agrees that it's permitted. But even if they were really hot, then it's stananu. V'nasu poishrin kan kemuter. It means if it started as yad soleres bam, but then got cool, then it's permitted. Ulefi zeh afilu ein lo mayim acherim. Im chamin shayat soleres bam. So if you have no other water, you should wait until it cools down a little bit. I was just thinking a little bit about George's comments that we see that you need drinkable water in order to do the Netilas Yadayim. Today, our water needs to be processed with whatever they do. Otherwise, it wouldn't be drinkable, and therefore, it wouldn't be an impediment to Netilas Yadayim. It might be an important thing to allow it to be drinkable. If the processing that our water goes through is designed for health reasons, which I think it is, so that there's no bacteria in there and there's no things that make us sick. And so that's just something that came to my mind.
Does it really have to be drinkable? I don't know if we've seen that. It has to be, just to be clear, did we see drinkable? We missed it?
Yeah, because we quoted there's a Rashi by Yad Soleres Bo. Rashi says over there, the reason why it's not usable for Netilas Yadayim is it's not drinkable. You wouldn't drink such water. And it's going to come up when we talk about seawater, that the reason seawater is not used for Netilas Yadayim is you can't drink it. So drinkability seems to be, and that's why even the thing that the Be'er Moshe, the Be'er Moshe said, that by like having fruit punch or Kool-Aid, right, and you colored it, but you improved it. So the Shulchan Aruch, the Rav Aruch HaShulchan, which we probably haven't got to yet, it improves the liquid, make it more drinkable, and for that reason, you could use it for Netilas Yadayim as well.
What about mikveh water? What about mikveh water?
What about mikveh water?
Can you use that for the Netilas Yadayim?
Why not?
First of all, everybody goes in it. It's maybe not be drinkable. You wouldn't want to drink of something if only people go into it.
Okay, but a mikveh, in terms of tumah v'tahara, Now, you will see, remember, Netilas Yadayim needs a kli. So as long as you use a kli, right, and it's not dirty.
You know,
Huh?
Ernie, it may not have to start out as drinkable and can end up drinkable, such as in Israel where they have desalination plants, right?
Correct. After the treatment with the desalination, you'd be able to use it. We're going to get to seawater. We're going to go. We'll get into this drinkability business soon.
No, I don't,
Yaakov?
you know, I think one of the ways you can actually stick your hands in a mikveh. I don't know if we got to that yet, but I believe that that's one way you can actually do Netilas Yadayim.
Without
You just stick your hands in a mikveh. I don't know if we get to that or not, but
Okay, remember, up until now, we talked about using a kli. We haven't come to the issue of, let's say you're at an ocean or let's say a stream or a ma'ayan or a mikvah. What do we do? I think that will come up.
the implication of this is if drinkability is the test. I mean, you're in locations. Sometimes if you're on the road, you come across water that it says not potable, it's not drinkable. And if that's the test, you couldn't use that water from the Netilas Yadayim, although it looks perfectly clear. It's just, you know, if for whatever reason.
Well, we saw
safe to drink.
tonight, Yaakov, that Gilui, there's nothing that there's a halachic reason there's a gzeira, you cannot drink that water, and therefore you can't use it for Netilas Yadayim. There's nothing non-potable about it. We don't have snakes. So Lamaisa, there's nothing wrong with the water, but there's a halachic reason why you can't drink it, and for that reason you can't use it for Netilas Yadayim. So certainly water that, let's say there's a sign there that says you can't drink it. So if drinkability is going to be an issue, I would agree with you. You wouldn't be able to use it.
Now, Ernie, we spoke about water that was sitting around overnight, but I remember back from my yeshiva days, and we didn't touch upon it here, that if we didn't know how long the water was sitting, even if it wasn't overnight, we wouldn't use it because we would say that maybe bugs might have gone in there.
Uncovered, what means if water was left uncovered and nobody watched it, that kind of thing. Absolutely. It's not just overnight. Uncovered water.
Ernie, isn't it customary for many people to leave Netilas Yadayim water in a clean next to their bed as they get up in the morning?
They cover it. I think they cover it.
Okay.
I think they cover it because of this issue of Gilui. If it's covered, you see, sometimes they have a bowl that covers it, right? They have the washing basin, and the bowl that they're going to use to eventually wash their hands with it, they cover that kli. I think that's how people do it. The problem of Gilui. Let's continue. So the Mishnah Berurah said that if you have very hot water, you should give it some time to cool off. The Yalkut Yosef writes that in principle, one may use hot water in accordance with the opinion of the Shulchan Aruch, but if possible, one should wait for the water to cool a bit, that one's hands will not recoil from it. I was going to say, but it's also, you could burn yourself. You know, I'm not sure why they didn't talk about sakana, yatso lettuce bowl, that's hot water. Like, you know, that can burn you. The Yalkut Yosef notes that on a practical level, this is preferable, and it is difficult to put this them properly if one hand's recoil from the heat of the water. Water that's been heated up by fire. Halachically, you could use it, but it makes more sense to let it cool off. According to everybody, would be okay. Biprat, specifically because so can one perform Netilas Yadayim with seawater? The Mishnah in Yadayim dictates a basic guideline regarding water which is valid for Netilas Yadayim. When water is unfit for drinking, it's invalid for Netilas Yadayim. if even an animal would not drink the water, if it's in a kli, then it's poisling. The Rosh cites two explanations. Salt water that even a dog wouldn't lick it. The water is like dark, pasty, muddy. The initial explanation of salt water is the main one. The Iri Bitzlulin, because you could have seawater that's clear, Elashen Maluchin, either they're salty or struchin or foul. The Shulchan Aruch rules in accordance with the first explanation that salty water is disqualified for Netilas Yadayim. My Maluchim or struchim or morim or bitter, Shena Kelev Yachol Ishtos Mem Psulim Netilas Yadayim. Aval Pishakshem Lemei Mikvah L'Tfila. You could use it for a main mikvah to go to be toivelin. If the water was dirty because of mud, if a dog could drink from it, you could use it for Netilas Yadayim, you could use it for a mikvah. If it's undrinkable, you can't use it for either. According to these sources, undrinkable salty seawater is unfit for Netilas Yadayim. But the Mishnah Berurah in Yalkut Yosef notes two possible ways that one could use salt water from the ocean if necessary. If you boiled it, the dog will drink it then. You can always go into people have gone into the mikveh in the ocean, just because it's salt water doesn't prevent your ability to go into such water to use for a mikveh.
So the same would hold true for desalination, which takes place in Israel, where a lot of the water is desalinated.
I wouldn't think there'd be a problem because you can drink that. A human being will drink that. Here, they're saying, Bernie, if it's been treated in a way where at least a dog will eat it, it's already considered permissible. Okay, I'm going to stop here. Mario, maybe you'll note that we stopped at 103, and we'll finish Mitzvah Hashem, the second part of Netilas Yadayim next week.
Okay.
Everybody have a good
Sure.
week. And those who are
Thank
doing
you.
Daf Yomi, we'll sign in the Daf Yomi in a few minutes.
Mazel tov to you and Susie.
Mazel tov.
Thank you.
Mazel tov,
Mazel tov.
mazel tov,
Thank
Ernie.
you. Thank
Only
you so
goodness.
much.